And then they come along and they say, well, we've raised taxes on the middle class. How many times do you hear Obama and Biden raised taxes on the middle class? Well, even Romney had what we Catholics say an epiphany. Romney come out and said the following. He said they have not raised taxes on the middle class. But apparently Paul Ryan's not gotten the memo. I'm serious. They acknowledge. The president did not raise taxes on the middle class. Yet turn on the ads. We've cut taxes for everyone in the middle class. $3,600 on the average family. We pushed the extension of the middle class tax cut to make it permanent. And if it's not, people making 60, 70, 80,000 are going to pay 4,000 bucks a year more. People making 50 bucks are going to pay 2,000 more a year in taxes. They're blocking it. Why? They're holding it hostage to continue a tax cut for the very wealthy. Ladies and gentlemen, all this they're doing, all these massive cuts they're making, they're basically in service of tax cuts for the wealthy. Tax cuts they don't need and they haven't asked for it. Look, I come from a wealthy little state of Delaware. I think we have one of the first or second highest per capita income. I represented it proudly for 36 years. I can tell you one thing. Very wealthy people are just as patriotic as very poor people. Yes. Wealthy people are just as patriotic as middle-class people. These folks don't need these tax cuts. They're not even asking for these tax cuts. But let me give you an example of how out of whack their whole notion about tax cuts. Extending the Bush tax cut for the wealthy. $800 billion over the next 10 years goes to people with a minimum income of $1 million. $800 billion. Now, of that, this to me is just the best way to illustrate how unfair this is. $1/2 trillion. I'm not making these numbers up. The press is all here. They'll check it. By the way, and they should. And they should. $500 billion in tax cuts for 120,000 families. Of these tax cuts, now let me say it again, 120,000 families in America of a population of over 300 million are going to get $500 billion in tax cuts. That's why they're cutting education. That's why they're cutting all these other things, because they can't afford it. Ladies and gentlemen, on top of that, Romney's come forward with a new tax. And this one, Ryan has gotten the memo. He fully embraces it. The new tax cut they propose is another $250,000 per year tax cuts for people making a minimum of $1 million. So those 120,000 families, among others, will get another $250,000 tax cut. That is 5 times more than the median income of American families in one tax cut per year. Ladies and gentlemen, and this has a gigantic price tag. And it will not surprise any of you who pays for it. Yeah. You all pay for it. Yeah. The nonprofit Tax Policy Center, made up of former economic experts from the Bush administration, from the Clinton administration, both sides of the aisle, they came out and said the Romney-Ryan tax plan will raise taxes on middle-class families with a child, 1 or more children, by an additional $2,000 a year. Wow. How, all kidding aside, with all the booze, I mean, we can stop all that malarkey. Look, guys, think of this is deadly earnest, man. This is deadly earnest. How they can justify raising taxes in the middle class has been buried the last 4 years. How, in Lord's name, can they justify raising their taxes with these tax cuts? And look, folks, we've seen this movie before. Massive tax cuts for the wealthy. Eliminating restrictions on Wall Street, let the banks write their own rules. We know where it ends. It ends in the catastrophe of the middle class and the Great Recession of 2008. Folks, we cannot go back to that. The President and I have a different way forward. First, we create 1 million new manufacturing jobs and help businesses double their exports. It's great for us. We did